This is your City Council Roundup, a recap of what's happening at City Hall with John Ongaro. The views expressed in this program are solely of those of the host and not necessarily those of the radio station or its partners.
Well, away we go. 'Tis the season. It's like Christmas all over again. My favorite time of the year, where a city council meeting precedes a budget meeting, which precedes another budget meeting and a few other budgets meetings. Last night was a regular city council meeting. Tonight, the action begins when we start to figure out how much you're paying on your city taxes. But let's look into last night first. A couple of really interesting presentations, actually, and some very positive presentations, too. Poverty Thunder Bay did a great presentation on the progress that incredible organization and all of the work of all of the committees that go along with it are doing to help fight poverty in Thunder Bay. They are doing fantastic work, and it is actually showing some results. A great update from them. The Thunder Bay Public Library was there. They also talked about things that they need, but they'll be back at budget time to ask for some money. Now, speaking of money, I've said this countless times before. I've been picked on and laughed at, and then, well, some nasty things too. Thunder Bay, you have a serious problem with parking. Let me just be frank with you. You're spoiled rotten. Period. If you can't park within 100 feet of the front door of a business, it's not close enough for you. If you're too far away from the mall doors, it's a problem. The lines in the mall parking lot become a nuisance when there's snow on top of them and we can't keep things straight. This community has historically been spoiled rotten when it comes to parking. Period. When you go to Duluth and want to find a parking spot in Canal Park, good luck. There isn't one. And guess what happens? Canal Park is still busy. So the city has decided that we're going to stop spending a pile of money on parkades and parking spots and losing our shirt year after year after year. And Thunder Bay is going to start paying for parking, like the adults do. However, some of the changes in those parking rates from last night's presentation were a little shocking to some. For example, as part of this package, the monthly rental in the parkade is $61.88. That's going up to $90. That's a pretty big jump.
Wow.
Monthly rentals for surface lots, regular lots around the city, $50.42, going up to $70. Your meter from $1.50 an hour is going up to $2. And so all of these things now start to make counselors a little nervous because, oh my goodness, people are not going to go downtown if they have to pay an extra 50 cents an hour. We're spoiled rotten. We also are a little underserviced when it comes to ride shares and taxi cabs in this community. Whether you like it or not, there is only one ride share here. That was City Council's decision, by the way. And so getting a car to go downtown to have some drinks with friends is a little on the tricky side. So we're just not going to go. Yes, you are. You're going to find a different way to get there, or you're going to pay for parking when you want to go for a nice dinner downtown on a Friday night. However, everybody else pays for parking in every other community except for Thunder Bay. And when we do, parking ends at 4:30-ish, 5 o'clock, and then you get away with parking free on the street for a nice night on the town. You're still going to go downtown if you have to pay for parking. But we've never charged, and now we are. However, when these prices hit council last night, you know what happens next. Somebody is going to say, oh my goodness, we can't afford it. You're about to drop $17 million to fix a street on Red River Road. And you don't think people should be paying to park down there to help pay for it? Sure they should. Mark Benz said something very interesting last night when referring to the parkades that we own. He called them white elephants. I would kind of disagree because elephants are cute. Those things are ugly. However, they're underutilized. Victoriaville has only been utilized 39%. The waterfront parkade, 74% for 500 spots. Nobody's using them. Nobody wants to use a parkade. We need to park as close to the front door of the business as we need to, or we're going to complain about it. It gets better. You're now starting to pay for parking at the Marina. Now, this was an interesting conversation last night because it is all about families going to the skate park, going to the splash pad, going for a walk with the dog around the park, going to your boat, going to events. But it's always been free. It's not anymore. The suggestion from the parking authority was $3 an hour for marina parking. $3 an hour for any of the lots at the marina, $3 an hour for Market Square just outside the Delta as well. $3 per hour. Well, council had a problem with that, and here come the amendments. Councillor Zecchino puts forward an amendment to lower the marina parking from $3 to $2 because that'll match the meters downtown. The interesting part that a lot of people don't realize is the Camelot Street parking lot that is at the end of Camelot Street where the crosswalk is to get across to the downtown is full of cars every day from people who work downtown that don't want to pay for parking because it's free. Well, if you charge for that, then it's going to force them to go and use the parkade. No, it's not. Because in Thunder Bay, the parkade is too many blocks away for you to go and park at. And that's why they're underutilized. But charging at the marina is going to force people to use the parkade. No, it's not. So Councillor Zecchino's amendment was to lower the marina parking from $3 an hour to $2 an hour to match the meters downtown. Well, wait. There's an amendment to the amendment now. Councillor Hamilton says, wait a second. The Market Square parking lot outside of the Delta beside the splash pad is premium parking. It absolutely is. It's 25 feet from the splash pad and the skating rink. So we should charge $3 an hour in Market Square and $2 an hour for the rest of the marina. That'll get them. That'll make sure everybody's happy. That was passed.
Oh.
So Market Square parking will be $3 an hour, although right now the limit is 3 hours. So if you're going downtown or if you're going to the marina to an event at the Delta or for dinner or for a walk at the park or to visit somebody on a boat, 3 hours is the maximum, $9 to park there. The rest of the marina is $2. You will save $2 in 2 hours by parking somewhere else by walking an extra 100 yards.
Like how you're breaking it down. All right.
So the marina parking thing has always been an issue. It shouldn't be free. Yes, it is a premier location in our city. And yes, it is an important part of our makeup. It absolutely is. You know, I live at the marina for 6 months of the year. There are thousands of people there every day. It is important. But why are you parking there for free? Because Thunder Bay, historically, has been spoiled with parking. So now these new parking rates are set. June 1st, you're starting to pay at the marina, and that price is going to go up 25% every 2 years. That's $1 every 8 years. You can afford it. Now, there is a discussion about what about the families that can't afford it, that use the free splash pad and the free skating to enjoy time with their family. You are absolutely right. There are some struggles. But if you're going for a splash pad for 3 hours and it's only costing you $10, that's not so bad. You can also take a bus and walk across from Camelot Street. Mm-hmm. It's not that far. So there are options here. We are not discluding those who can't afford the free services. Somebody also made a comment last night about, what if you're just going there to walk the dog? You have to pay to park. Mm-hmm. You can also walk the dog around your neighborhood. So parking starts at the marina this year.
Question?
Yeah.
Was there any discussion about what this parking is going to bring in? Any projected revenues?
Yeah, I tried to figure all this out, and following that bouncing ball is very difficult. What I did learn last night, that if the parkades were free, we would bring in $1.2 million a year in parking fees, and it's still not enough to maintain parking.
Oh, my gosh.
So we are still operating parking at a loss.
All right.
So having said all of that, that's approved. Now, that's going to cost us a little more from what was planned, and so guess what that ties into? That's right, kids, the city budget, which gets underway tonight. You're at 5.5%. I've got questions. What happened to the $2.2 million that we were supposed to cut last year and save in order to not get us to this point? Has there been much discussion about that? I haven't heard any. That could be why we're at 5.5%. How does a budget go up and your taxes go up 5.5% when spending and expenses will stay the exact same this year? We're actually spending the same. We're receiving the same, but we're going up 5.5%. Sure, there's inflation, but where's that $2.2 million to help save us money? Question 3 that I don't think will be tackled because, to be honest with you and to be completely frank, I don't think this council has the courage to bring it up. But in this budget of 5.5%, where's the money for the indoor turf facility in that? If the indoor turf facility got paused again, what's my tax increase next year? How much money are we spending this year on the turf if the turf goes through, and there is no guarantees that it is? But how much of my tax rate will go down if we decided not to do it? It'll be an interesting discussion. It is all laid out tonight, and then throughout the next 2 weeks, there will be deputations from citizens, deputations from the Chamber of Commerce and business owners, all talking about how 5.5% is an awful lot of money. And it is. Depending on what you're paying for your taxes, this could go up quick for you on a monthly basis. And we need to pay attention of who's adding things to the budget, because there's always things added, and who says no to some of the cuts that may be there. It all starts tonight, and we'll have a recap tomorrow.
Question. Do you think all these deputations, these questions by the public, do you think there's any influence in any change of the budget? Have we ever seen that? You know, when the Thunder Bay Chamber of Commerce comes out, I've always been impressed by Charlotte Robinson and her speech to council ahead of budgets. But, you know, is it even considered?
I will tell you this, and again, this segment is just opinions, and they're just my own. Sometimes, and I've watched this for a long time, I find that Charlotte Robinson's presentation on behalf of the business owners and the Thunder Bay Chamber of Commerce has always been outstanding. Mm-hmm. I also say, in the same breath, that she is treated incredibly poorly in that room by some counselors. Now, this is a different makeup.
Yeah.
But the things she brings to the table are grassroots, homemade stuff. She's talking about people and businesses that are struggling. She brings the facts. I've never seen a council change a decision or adjust accordingly based on what she brings, but they should start paying attention.
Okay.
All right, finally, I've been asked about this a lot over the last couple of weeks. The city of Thunder Bay has decided that they're going to get into the podcast world. That's right, kids, because what more things are important in the city's operations and communications department than updating the citizens about what happened on last night's council meeting? Wait a sec. Don't we do that? Anyway, they're doing it now, too. It's important for citizens to understand the decisions were made last night. It's also important to understand why those decisions were made. This isn't a new concept. Thanks for listening, by the way. The feature is hosted by Jeff Walters. Now, Jeff, a fine reporter from CBC. I've never crossed paths with Jeff. I know him, but he's a great guy, and he was a great reporter and now works in the city's communication division. But he was also very well trained by the CBC to put together a really slick package. It sounds fantastic. It has great music. It has great intros, and Jeff is very smooth. Jeff's delivering the information on this podcast from last night's meeting. I want to know where the budget was for those really expensive microphones that he's talking to. I also want to know what the cost of the video component of this is. And a little behind-the-scenes baseball for you. When producing a slick program like this, things like music beds and sound effects and those kinds of things also cost money. I'm going to assume that these come out of the communications budget. By the way, the microphone that I'm speaking into right now, you didn't spend any money on. You did on Jeff's. However, the city has a duty to give you the information, and to do so in the best way possible. What the city will not do with this podcast is tell you about who argued last night. They won't tell you about the tension in the room. They won't tell you about the split votes and the people that are complaining about each other in the room. They're not going to tell you about who interrupted who and who's not getting along. This is not for drama. We don't do that on this program for the drama of it all. We do it so that you understand the people who you are voting for are doing the work that you asked them to do. Are they? The city's podcast is going to be called The Minutes. It is pretty much the minutes from last night. You can also go to the city's website and read the minutes from last night. So a rundown of what happened is great. It is a great little podcast. However, it's a podcast put out by the communications department by the city of Thunder Bay, which will just be about what happened the night before. But you need to know things like who interrupted and who's adding things to the budget and who's nitpicking about the littlest things to try to get some pretty new project passed. They're not going to tell you about how much we spent on Chapels Park and the turf facility the first time around. They're going to talk about the things that are coming with the new one. They're not going to talk about the wasted money or the money that we went over budget for the last 10 years, which, by the way, is pushing almost $11 million. Those things you won't find on the minutes, but you will find them here. So you can listen to the city's version of the minutes anytime, or you can tune in here for the truth.
Okay. Wow.
There you go.
Okay, John, that was awesome. I appreciate it. I appreciate your insight. Two things before we wrap up.
Go ahead.
You brought up the indoor turf facility. Tomorrow afternoon, I believe, there is like an open house, the auditorium, to outline different ideas.
Sure.
Okay. Secondly, to the budget, 5.5%. If you have not yet heard, Dryden is looking at approving a budget of over 6.5%.
10% in Toronto.
Right? 10%
So you have a $2 million house in Toronto that's worth $500,000 here.
Do the math.
10% is a lot of money.
Yep.
There is expenses, Danny. You can't deny it. Can't deny that. Prices have gone up. You can't deny that. But I just look at the budget every single year and I ask how much is actually wasted. Mm-hmm. That's where it comes from. It'll be interesting tonight. We'll be back tomorrow with a budget update.
Awesome. Sounds good. And this is interesting times. This whole time period from budget, first meeting to ratification on the 12th. John, appreciate your insight, your input. Thank you so much. And that's the City Council Roundup. 824 Fleetwood Mac, 99.9 The Bay.